Oh yes,
Hello,
yeah, we are
everybody.
live.
Welcome to Goddess Talks. It is our new time and kind of new place because we've only done this a couple times.
True.
So, we are starting with a more structured show, and we starting with a Monday because why not? And the show is going to be about grammar, which I clearly am in dire need of some assistance with.
Right on.
I am Kristy Bach, and this is.
Raven Star. I like how you have this is the second time that you haven't put Denise in there, and that's not cool because you want your whole name. So do it again.
You're right. But I think it depends on how many times I introduce myself to someone in the human world that's not virtual. Because I'll like when I talk to regular people, that I meet in my day to day life, I just say, "Hi, I'm Kristy Bach." Um, but you're absolutely right. In the writing world, which we're trying to be a part of here, I do on all of my books, it says Kristy Denise. So I imagine I should make that more of a priority.
Absolutely.
So, Raven, you had a date night.
Oh, it was wonderful. I love Saturdays are turning out to be the best day of the week for me, you guys. And I would show you my present. He got me a pop of Michonne. It's awesome. I love it so much. It's over there, but I can't show it to you because if I
Because
just
it's over there.
because yeah, it's over there. It's not far. It's beautiful. I love it. He surprised me with it on our date on Saturday, and I glance at it all the time, and it's just amazing. I love it. So, John, thank you so much, babe. Appreciate it. You better
So,
get to these slides and all this other good fanana that you trying to get us all into. She's got this PowerPoint, y'all. Don't sleep on her now. She sent me this PowerPoint. She's like, "Oh, look what I did," and it's just so yeah. So let's talk
okay,
about grammar then.
but to clarify, I did that because Raven wanted a more structured show. That was her words.
I got that from John. He's the one that taught us about show prep. So I said show prep, and she went all out like she does because she's extra. And she did this huge PowerPoint thing, and I still have it open over here. And I love her to death, but I think I got through 2 slides, and I was just like, yeah, that's great. Listen, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, when it's my turn to like host, don't expect any PowerPoint, don't expect any Excel sheets, none of that. We're just gonna talk and we're gonna figure it out because Raven does not do PowerPoint. It I think my head would explode if I tried to do any of the things that Kristy Denise Bach does. I just can't.
Wow. So, one of the most consistent feedback pieces I got in the corporate world of life was that, Kristy, when you give a presentation, you just read from the PowerPoint. People can read. Don't do that. So, I'm going to work very hard not to do that.
All right. And I do have my sound effects on my phone. So if you hear crazy explosions and stuff going on, that's me trying to liven it up a little bit.
I told her, like, repeatedly, don't let me be boring. Just don't. I can't handle that.
I won't. I won't, precious. I won't.
Okay, so I actually really did make a PowerPoint.
Oh shit. Here. I mean, here
Sugar,
we go
honey,
now.
iced tea. We did this.
Yeah. Okay, you guys, here we are. Define intent. My intent is sleep after this show.
My intent after this show is to beat Derek
Okay.
in Fortune Street. So if I were to write about that, I would probably write the 500 ways that I'm going to do it. But
Oh
but
boy.
then but then my intent would be to be mean, and that's not what we're here to do.
No, not at all.
So, Raven,
Yes.
When you sit down and set out to write a book or a story or anything, what do you do? Like, what is your process? How do you come up with, how do you decide to sit down to write it is my question.
Let's see. Well, I've said it before, I have to have certain things in order for me to write. And I do have to have those things. If like one little section is off, it kind of throws my whole writing day off. But for me, the title comes first. And
Okay.
once the title in my head, the characters come and the book is started. So
Okay.
it's and I ask other authors that, how did they start? Did they start with the characters or the plot line or the title? How did they, manage to set all of their goals up when they sit to write? Now, what about you? What do you do when you're ready to sit down and write
I
100,000
usually
pages?
so I usually start with the end in mind, the whole reason I wanted to write it in the first place. So, for example, I'll use Ascension Descension. I read an article a billion years ago now, and it really made me mad. It made me so mad.
Uh-oh.
The article was called 10 Wicked Women of the Bible. And I didn't know who most of them were. So I actually went out and bought a Bible to look up these women because Google didn't make sense. Because as I read, what's in Wikipedia and what's in Google, it was like, well, that can't be right. That can't be right. That can't be right. So then I went and bought a Bible and I read it to find out that, yeah, Google was right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
Google's pretty awesome.
when I made the choice to sit down and write something, I started with the end in mind. It didn't matter how I got there at that point, but I was writing a
Mhm.
book with a better ending for these women.
Right on.
So my intent was to give them a different life, or a different end of their life anyway. When I write a romance, the intent for me is to honestly write those last few pages where it's after the wedding and it's something funny or heartwarming, like the epilogue. But romance has the best epilogues because you're allowed to explore things like children and endearing moments. So I guess what I say is I start with the end in mind.
Okay. Okay.
So, and that's, everybody has a different process of how they
Right
reach
on.
that point. And that's kind of what we're talking. I mean, that is definitely what we're talking about tonight, but it's curious because you and I are so vastly different in these areas. I was curious how that was going to play out. So I'm not going to go through all these because, as I've been told a billion times, people can read.
Yes.
I don't know how to make it go forward. Oh, okay, here we go. So
You're
there's the
silly.
first, I know, like I never ran PowerPoints, I just created them.
So what you're looking at, you guys, is like Kristy at low tide. This is just a little bit of Kristy, just a little bit.
Yeah, she's not wrong. I know I'm
No,
extra.
no, I'm not.
But no matter if you're writing fiction or a news article or something, at some point you make a decision to put finger to keys, pen to paper, however you choose to write the words out. You have a purpose in mind. You want to write a book, you want to write a news article. And if you cannot clearly define that purpose, then you're going to spend a whole lot of time wasted.
Right.
I know this
Totally
because
agree.
I have entire hard drives filled with wasted time.
Bad, Kristy. Bad.
But it's often because I go in with an idea of what I want. But
Hmm.
if you asked me to say, Kristy, in one line, tell me what you're doing, I'm like, oh, hold up, I need way more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I can see that totally for sure.
right. So I have to work on defining what I want and what my intent is. And I know that that is definitely my weakness in life. I'm not clear ever.
I don't know if that's true.
I think it's pretty true.
I don't want to yell at you guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry.
See, she's already doing it.
You guys, it's like I've been up since 5:30 this morning, and can you not see my eyes? I mean, if I take my glasses off right now, look, you guys. I don't know if you could see my eyeballs. Your girl Raven, she's tired today. Look, I don't have my, and I'm so glad that we are not reading this out loud because I can't see the way. I mean, I can see, but a little bit. So when you are defining your purpose and you're sitting down to write, you got your intent going on. So you have here summarizing. Like when you sketch it out, do you do like a flow chart and this and this, or does it just flow? Because I I don't work like that, you know. I don't know about the defining. I'm not analyzing anything, you know what I mean? When I sit down to write, it is like watching a movie in my head, and I have to type as fast as I can to make.
She really does type like that, y'all. She
I
really
really
does.
do. I really do. So when you guys see me doing that, I really type just like it's pretty fast
I've
with these
seen it.
fingers. But you know, and it's crazy because when I was in school, when I was in high school, I did take, you know, typing because they taught us all that, you
I
know,
was just teasing.
type and we also had like home ec and all that. But yeah, this is my thing. That's how I like it.
I think that there's so many different ways to write. There's no right or wrong way, which is why I have so many here as we go through. You'll see. But it's because everybody's way is okay. There's been I write differently for each book. I had like
Okay.
Ascension Descension. I knew as soon as I started writing. Excuse me.
You need a cough drop.
I do need a cough drop.
She
As
has
soon as
not
I
walked over to my house to get these cough drops, y'all.
well, you know, we kind of live a state away. But anyway.
Yeah.
So where I'm going with that is everybody's way is different, everybody's means is different. So it's just fun exploring those different parts and so we're going to move to the next thing because I completely lost track of what I was going to say. So this is one that I do fairly well with. I know what I'm writing about.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
But it helps kind of to keep in mind of what when you're writing, there's always a problem in a book, in a story, in most news articles.
Yeah. You have to have that conflict. You know,
Right.
this can't be, you know, an easy story. You have to have that conflict. No, whatever that conflict may be, but
Mhm.
it has to be there. Absolutely. I remember. I think the first book I ever wrote was called Fantasy, and it didn't have conflict. It just didn't. I mean, it sold like crazy, that it did, but you know, it didn't have that initial conflict to it. It was a great story. If I could find it, I would probably re-release it after probably tweaking it a little. But yeah, yeah, absolutely. Gotta have that conflict going on.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be conflict in a physical sense or even an antagonistic way. It could be something as simple as two people who are on different paths and they're trying to, overcome obstacles or something like that. Romance is the conflict is usually very similar, which is I think one of the reasons I struggle writing it is because there's a certain expectation when you write romance of how things are going to be. Like if you go online right now and Google romance story format, There's so many articles that talk about something keeps these two apart, and then some weird fluke of circumstances smushes them together, and they absolutely can't escape, and they have to work through their animosity. And while sparks are flying, and then there's some dramatic thing that happens, and then there's a huge moment of sacrifice, and then they live happily ever after. And while I think that's an unfair assessment, by the way, those people haven't read romance in at least 50 years, but it is unfortunately true for enough out there that kind of keep that stereotype alive, I guess. But it is important to know what you're writing about. So
absolutely.
If the end game is for two people to fall in love, keep that in mind as you write. If your end game is to give, 10 wicked women a new lease on life, keep that with your end game.
Or if you want to do something like me and kill off most of the people in your book, make sure it's consistent.
So I have 2 books, one published and one not done yet, where the lead character dies in the first chapter. Actually, in the first scene, I think.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Oh, is that the one you're writing for Harlequin? Hint, 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 hint.
First, I have to write.
Remember last week we were supposed to do those goals? I did the goals. She didn't do the goals, y'all. No.
She needs to give me better goals. I gave her goals of things she was already doing.
But you're supposed to be writing, What do you say all the time? Writers write. So you should be writing.
I know. I will do better.
She likes to put wings on everybody, you guys. So it's kind of hard. I can see that because wings might get in the way of some stuff.
So moving on from Kristy. You want to always kind of keep in mind.
Books have messages. I think some of the best books out there have messages. I always like to add something. I'm gonna date myself a little bit here, but when I was younger, I used to watch Aesop's Fables. Loved those.
I loved Aesop's Fables.
And it was something that, it told a story, but it also had a meaning. So I always try to add that in my books. I always try to add some kind of meaning, some kind of message at the end, love conquers all, or try not to kill your neighbor, or you know what I mean?
Yes, please don't kill your neighbor.
Oh, I have great neighbors. I don't want to kill any of them.
So, and the message doesn't have to be of the fable variety, but you want to keep in mind of who you're writing it for and who your target audience is going to be. And many authors, myself included, will tell you they don't necessarily write for an audience, they just write a story. But we certainly market towards an audience.
Oh, absolutely.
So I know that if I'm about to market something towards a specific group of people, that's a little bit of who I'm writing for.
Absolutely.
So I would keep that in mind, as I go through my writing. I want to make sure that I'm not going to put anything crazy in there that's going to turn off large populations of people simply because I put it in there.
What is that noise?
It's my son. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
He's playing with a lightsaber.
What color is it?
It's blue.
Right on. I want the purple one like Mace Windu.
We probably already have it upstairs. I don't know. But there's a pretty good chance. So just to kind of give you a different perspective on things as who will be reading what you write, I gave some examples because these are pieces that were written in different times for different reasons, and the audience has changed over the years.
Mm.
Fahrenheit 451, he targeted adults and, young adults. And then it became mandated reading in like high school.
Yeah,
I think everybody I know has read this book in high school. So it's a good book, by the way. If you haven't, you should. I enjoyed it much better as an adult, though. To Kill a Mockingbird, the entire story evolves. So you really get different pieces of it as you, like if you read it as a 16-year-old, you're going to get something dramatically different when you read it as a 40-year-old.
You guys, I don't know where she come with these 40s. I'm 28 for years, but it's all right.
Look, I've been on this earth 40 years. I own every stinking one of them.
Get it.
And, Animal Farm. But I also decided to throw in the Declaration of Independence because it was written for very different people. There were things in there that were specific to be read by the British government, specific to be read by the colonists. So it's just, know your audience.
Okay.
So now we're going to move to the space where I am stuck at eternally.
See, brainstorming, you got to be able to like throw ideas back and forth. I find that very, very, very important. Usually I'm bouncing ideas off of my daughter because she's a bookworm through and through and through and through. So when I get these ideas, I go to her because her knowledge of novels and the different things that kind of like stick in somebody's head, and I'm like, what about this? What about that? What if I do this? And she's like, well, what if you do this, but you spin it and you do it like that? And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. So brainstorming is like one of the things that I think is very important, especially in the way that I write.
I think that's where I get stuck because I will come up with 50 different ideas and 8 ways to get there. And then I'm just like, oh gosh, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, she does that.
And see, I think the way my brain works is, so first of all, I've said this a bazillion times, I have ADHD and OCD pretty bad. So they do contribute to some of my behaviors. It's not an excuse though. I can do this. I've done it before.
Oh yeah. Her ADHD is off the chain, y'all. I mean, I have OCD too, but Lord, that's mostly about cleaning though, which is that's where my OCD is just like at its peak. Is if I walk past and I see like a spot on the wall, I have to clean the whole wall. My daughter's like, "Oh God, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I have to do it." I'll go in her room and I'll just start cleaning everything. And yeah.
I rearrange so I don't have young children anymore, so I don't feel I should have to pick up after them. So when I do, I get annoyed, and by that time, then I have to start moving furniture. It's just this whole process, and I do it probably every couple of weeks. So I drive him crazy. But moving on, because I don't want to get stuck on that. Brainstorming is helpful if you can use it like Raven and not like Kristy.
So maybe that's what you and I need to work on when we're not doing the show. It's kind of like brainstorming and trying to get your attention span just almost in those little blinders where you can only see what's ahead of you. Because what you do, your vision is so broad that you're not even just focused on the middle, you're focused on the left, on the right, on the up, on the down, on the middle. And maybe if we did that where it was just you and I going back and forth, I can tell you how extra you are, and maybe we can get focus just on that one thing,
I would like that because I definitely think that would be beneficial. So it kind of occurred to me that somebody's probably asking, what does any of this have to do with grammar? And
no, because we have nobody in there. We changed this. The last time we did it at night, we had people, and now we're doing it at night and nobody. So
Well, okay, then good. But what it does have to do with grammar is you can't get to any of that until you get to this. And this is where it all starts, because if you just say, I'm going to write a book, and you put pen to paper, you might write a book, but you're probably just wasting paper. So
Save the trees.
save the trees.
Totally.
So this is another thing that I'm potentially guilty of on a regular basis. And by potential, I mean definitely. Listing. I love listing things out. I love making lists. I love making them color coded and putting them in Excel. I can't tell you how many hours and hours and hours I can waste in Excel.
Yes, she can, y'all. Believe me, she can. But see, this is something I don't do. I'm not, see, because with my dyslexia, I don't make lists. And even if I make a list, I don't follow the list, like if I make a list to go to the grocery store, I'll write it out. Everything will be cool. The list is either at home or I never look at it. So listing is not something that I do often. So do you list? I mean, oh, of course she does,
List
but
everything.
yeah. All right. Clustering,
I
branching.
have like I have like life Excel sheets.
Oh no.
Ask Derek someday.
I will too.
I know, I'm telling you. So this is when I am midway actually through a book. This is how I finish the book.
See, like all those circles over that girl's head. This is what I'm saying. Is this what you do? You put it into like a flow chart sort of situation?
Yeah, like that's kind of like my finish the book process. I have a general idea of where I want to go, but because my brain can't be trusted to stay on track, I have to have something to look at and kind of bring myself back to.
Right. Okay. Okay.
But again, it's not my brain excuse. I really can't do this. But it's also good just so people can see that there's so many different ways of doing this. And I learned this little clustering thing in like third grade, and I have used it so many times. I once used it to end a relationship.
Oh no. Should we get into this, you guys? Should we really get into that? I think we should. How do you use that to end a relationship? What is it? Pros and cons?
No,
Did you
no.
do?
So I knew before I ended this relationship that dude was a talker, like a talker. And socially, I'm not a talker. I mean, I kind of am to Derek's, so I'll talk his ear off, but like nobody else's. So what I did was in the center of my cluster, I wrote,
You talk too much,
why?
and this is why.
No, I put, why I cannot listen to the sound of your voice for another second.
Oh my goodness.
And so then I like branched out because you have a fake Southern accent and it really irks my nerves. You're from Detroit.
Oh Lord.
And then it would be like, you chew with your mouth open. Like, so I just listed every train wreck thing that, I could about this human. Because I expected a conversation, like
She's like, I just expected it.
And instead he just like burst into tears.
Oh, you hurt his little feelings. Chris.
I just stared at him like, oh my God, dude, like you're ugly girl crying. Sorry, that is sexist. I'm sorry, but that really is a saying.
It really is.
Doesn't make it right. I know, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, it was awful. But okay, moving on. This is another thing that I do.
Wow, really?
So after I cluster it
like
out,
college. This is what I had to do when I got my bachelor's. This is
yeah.
This, you guys, I know you're seeing this. I don't do this either. No. It's like it's all like too much work. You're almost like taking the fun and the joy out of writing because I do enjoy it all the time. And I think if I spent as much time outlining and clustering and all that, that I would just lose the oomph of wanting to do it, because it's almost like schoolwork. Who wants to go back to school and do schoolwork? I don't want to do that. I'm not saying that this is like a bad thing. I'm just saying that even though Kristy and I are twins, this is where we differ, because of the fact that she's 100 times more extra than me. So yeah, Kristy, get it with your crazy self. So you do outline like this? You do lay it?
I take the clusters that I just did and all the little things, and then I'll do like A, B, C.
Oh, I love you. You're so crazy.
Okay, so the next part doesn't have as much to do with fiction writing, but I figured why not touch upon it, because this makes me insane. My number one message to all writers everywhere is don't claim to be an expert if you're not. And if you're going to use an expert, cite the expert.
Yeah, I mean,
But at the bottom of all of
how does this pertain to writing? I'm not understanding.
Okay, so let's think about some of the books that I don't know that we've both read, but I'll give you some examples of mine. Any single human on the planet who has ever written about the United States military in any capacity, if you do not research the military, we all know.
We do. No, though. What do we know?
We know that they didn't research the military because it shows clearly in their writing. Everybody's a corporal, or I'm sorry, everybody's a colonel. And, you know, the way they write and the way they rank and the things that, and everybody who's ever been in the military is a Navy SEAL.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying don't write about the military. I'm so pro-military, it is ridiculous. But if you're going to write about it, know what you're writing about. And a lot of that comes to knowing which sources to go to, which is why I have this up here.
Aye, Captain.
It's honestly just a pet peeve of mine when people write about the military and they do such a crappy job at it. Just, it's on the internet, y'all. Every bit of it. It's required to be. You want to be, you know, where does a 20-year-old Marine live? In the barracks. He's not, there's very, you know, they don't have a lot of rights and they don't have a lot of liberties until they've been in for a few years. So it drives me crazy when I read these like 19, 20-year-old romances, or, you know, 21, 22-year-olds, and they're out doing all these things. They can't.
Yeah.
So basically, just research, please. And know what sources are and know what sources you can use. And if you're using it for publication other than fiction, cite it. And it doesn't hurt to give them a shout out in fiction either. Okay, here's another interesting thing that will encompass all writing, fiction, nonfiction, news. Know the difference between fact and opinion.
Right on.
If you can look it up with reliable resources, it's probably, well, no, because you can look up everything on the internet. So that's a poor way of saying that.
Oh, yeah.
If you can verify and validate from reliable sources, it's probably fact. And everything on the internet is not real. Just
yeah. A lot of fake news out there.
So I'm going to have this PowerPoint available for download. And because I am so extra, I just want to show Raven this, because I did this thing just to see the expression on her face when I do this.
Oh, God, what is it? Oh, shit. Okay, yeah. Did you put this together as well?
No, I forgot to set the audio, but there's actually audio to this video. I just wanted to see her face.
Oh,
It's actually a really good, you know, truthfully, it's a very informative video about understanding the difference between opinion and fact in writing, but I just really put it in there for you.
Yeah, she did that for me, you guys, because she knows that some of the little things that she does just irks me. I want to squish her little face.
So narrative is important. When you decide to write anything, you want to understand, and I don't mean narrative as in first person, second person. I mean, are you writing a start to finish book, like a linear, chronological? Is it happening in order? Non-linear or fractured, which, by the way, anybody who watched The Watcher, that would be an example of non-linear and fractured with a terrible ending. Moving on.
The Watcher? I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, I'm sorry, The Witcher. I meant to say The Witcher.
The Witcher. Okay. Because I know everybody. A lot of my friends, of course, most of them were female, dying over The Witcher. Now, I don't know his name, but I know he was Superman once upon a time.
I don't know his name either.
I'm sorry, guy. I'm sorry. It just wasn't for me. I looked at it a little bit and I just couldn't get into it. Not saying that The Witcher is bad. I heard it was really good. A lot of people are waiting on season 2. Yay for y'all. But there are just some things that, I just can't get into.
Well, I, for one, am mad that there is a season 2. So that's all I'll say about that. So just, there's different ways you can write a story: linear, nonlinear, circular, parallel. And as long as there's important elements and this is more towards fiction, but actually not really, because I use it in news too. You want to have the point.
But this is totally, you can use this layout for news. I would think that this would be the perfect setup if you were writing, news or something that,
because you start with what you did
in your head.
I agree. And so just to kind of carry on with that same setting.
That's me climbing up my steps, y'all. I hate those steps, you guys. I really do.
So I use this when I am completely stuck and I can't write anything except, and so like, I know that I can't write anything because I'll start going to hash stuff that I haven't finished in years and years and years. There's a reason I haven't finished it. I don't know what it is, but they might never get finished. So then I call them my time wasters.
Swift kick in the butt from The Raven.
Like, I feel bad because Derek loves one of the stories that I'm working on. And like, he tells me all the time it's his favorite. He's waiting for me to finish it. And it's been like 5 years.
That's okay.
And you want to know the saddest part of all? It's at like 80,000 words. So I literally just have to write the ending.
Oh my goodness. Loud.
So yeah, all I need is the resolution.
Okay, drafting. Got that. I do that, you guys.
So this is a very important part. So you wrote the end. Now what?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not going to go through all these. Just know that everybody gets to a draft point differently, and that's okay. I edit like every step of every page of every day. I will probably edit the same page 50 times before I get to the 3rd chapter. So
really, see, I'm the opposite. I when I'm writing, I'll write, and then when that mood is over, I'll go back and edit, because I do have dyslexia. So if I'm writing, sometimes I'll skip a word, and so I have to go back and edit. But once I'm writing, and then once I'm done, I have to like take my break, and then I'll go back and say, okay, this is good. You skipped a word, but that's good. So yeah, you have to get it together.
So basically, the conclusion that I'm drawing is I am lost in analysis paralysis. That's not been the first, second, or third time I've accused myself of that. But you know, the whole point to all this was just kind of showing that there's different ways to do it, and it's all fine. And, you know, we each get there our own way. But one of the things when you're all done and you've kind of set it aside, you really want to make sure that you've answered all the questions and that you've kept all your promises. And anybody who's ever written a book knows that the promise is, I'm going to give X, you know, for a romance, X and Y are going to live happily ever after. Keep your promises.
Okay, let's talk about that for like just a second. Now, I know people, when they write romance, you have to have that happily ever after or happy for now. It's one reason why I kind of like flip the script, and I like writing dark horror and dark crime, because, you know, not everybody lives happily ever after. You know, I don't always think that that's reasonable. But the reason why people are reading that romance is because they don't want reality. You know, they don't want reality. They want the characters to go through whatever they go through, and find love. All my books, most of them, they do have some kind of love aspect in them. The story I'm writing right now, I'm almost done, you guys. I'm almost done. I'm really wicked proud of that. But yeah, I think that for straight up romance, I guess you have to have everybody, you know, hug and get along, and nobody's eyes are gouged out and bleeding and all that. It's all about love and respect and making love. So I think that's one thing that when I get back into romance, that's I have to really stress and work on.
I think it's hard to force ourselves into pigeonholes, but, you know, I get it. We're writing with purpose, so that's a little different than writing willy-nilly. So just to, you know, kind of recap on what we're doing. So who's the audience that you're writing for? Like we touched on that earlier. And then, is what you wrote appropriate for that audience? Or is that audience appropriate for that topic? What assumptions have you made? And this is a big one, especially for people who do write very detailed things, because you make the assumption that your readers either don't or do know specific things. You run the risk of over explaining and, you know, giving way too much detail when they don't care.
Right.
Did you leave out
that
anything?
I don't like is if it's too wordy, you know, like I'm not going to say the name of the author, but this person would write 3 pages about the color of the grass. And know what color the grass is. I don't need 3 pages to tell me that it was a vibrant green that moved back and forth with a swish. I just, you know, come on, give me the juice of it, you know, but I understand that. Too much description, I think. Bores the reader. If I get bored writing, I think that people would get bored reading it. So that's how I kind of like get it in my brain.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's I really just like that picture. All these pictures, by the way, are from Pixabay, so I have permission to use them. One of the things to remember is when you're done
totally
writing.
Meditating as the shark's gonna get her. Gotcha.
Right. One of the things to remember is that when you're as soon as you finish something, as soon as you write the end, now's not the time to edit. You are so physically and probably emotionally connected to that piece that you will not, your eyes won't see the mistakes that you've made, because your brain will correct them as you read it.
Absolutely.
I left some helpful hints here, just, you know, things that help me, and I know that I'm extra, so, but it helps for me to read it out loud and to put a piece of paper, or like I'll actually put a piece of paper on the screen, and so that I only read one line, so that, and then I read it out loud, so that I'm hearing it, I'm seeing it, and I can only focus on that one line. So I've caught tremendous amounts of mistakes that way. And that is the end of my PowerPoint with sources.
Yay! We're all still awake. It's awesome. She did it. She told me not to let her be boring, and she wasn't, you guys. She wasn't. I don't know the stuff in the background, but yep, there was a chainsaw, and there was a car accident, and I like my little. I did, you guys. I'm sorry, but I had to download like the special effects for my phone because I do think that it kind of like helps us not to bore the hell out of you guys.
Right?
But tomorrow is Tuesday, and it's Social Media Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not going to do a PowerPoint because unlike Kristy, I will throw my computer because I don't know how to put all that stuff together. I mean, I did for high school and college, but I just, she's, the way her brain works, you guys, I honestly kind of wish that I had that much attention to detail as she does. But when we go back and we talk about editing and stuff, uh, it's good for you to, if you can self-edit, fine. But then you need to throw it to a beta reader, throw it to a friend, and let them go through it. Because like Kristy says, your brain will correct all those mistakes. So even though I will skip a word, and when I go through, my brain still sees that word there. So if I send it to Kristy, Kristy will come back and she's like, well, what the hell is this? I don't writing. I'm like,
She doesn't always send her stuff to me anymore.
No. Well, because she's so busy, you guys, now. You know, we were supposed to be writing a book together. I don't know what happened to that, but she made this list. She did, you guys. She like, she made this big like Excel thing with like the character, what powers they had, how old they were, what their weaknesses are.
Because I have to know these things if I'm going to write about them.
Looking at it, and my brain was like, so yeah. But I honestly just wish that I had as much attention to detail as Kristy does. Maybe as we continue, I will, you know, parts of Kristy rubs off on me. I'm hoping that I rub off on her a little bit.
I wish I had less.
Well, we have to like narrow it down because you're running, but you're running a marathon and a triathlon and a decathlon, all these things at the same time. We just got to get you to focus because, you know, I want to help you with your goal. You want to have a book with Harlequin, and I want to see that happen. I want to be able to go to the store or go to the Walmart with John and say, look, that's my friend. That's Kristy. You know, I think that would be awesome. I'm so
and I think it's weirdly telling for me that the only book I have that sells is, in fact, a romance.
Yeah. Romance is in. It's always been in. Yeah. So that's going to be something that I'm going to have to work on. I did, you guys, check out Twisted. The blurb is changed. The cover is changed. Story is fantastic. Go figure it out. Check me out on Amazon. I really need you guys to read that book because I enjoyed writing it so much.
Well, I will see all of you tomorrow evening at 9:00 for Social Media Tuesdays. And Raven will be doing what she does.
Yes, not a PowerPoint.
Bye, everybody.
See you guys. See you tomorrow.